Hey, welcome everyone. Before we start, I have passed around some iPads and it has an app on it called the Loco. You can play around with it, you can look for words, you can talk to your neighbor. I like to do things as informal as possible. And yeah, so play around with it. And I pass out some handouts, and if anybody doesn't have one, you can come grab it whenever. We just put them right here. All right, so before I start, I just want to talk about what this session will not be. And it will not be hypothetical, right? If this were true in our schools, then we could do this. We're going to be focusing on what we are dealing with in the schools, on the barriers that face the inclusion, specifically of non-speaking students. And my focus is on autistic students. And I know that there are lots of different disabilities that cause non-speaking. So I can't focus on all of them. So I don't know about all of them. Come on in, come on in, come on in. Hi, welcome. Let me get you some space. Welcome. Yeah, it's fine. Anybody can come in whenever. So we'll be talking about like the barriers that we're facing right now in general education classrooms with the inclusion of non-speaking students. And we're going to talk about the latest brain science and what that brain science means for how we respond to student behavior in the classroom. And we're going to talk about the latest breakthrough in AAC and how we can use that breakthrough now, today, to start making our schools more inclusive. Come on, yeah, it's fine. We started, it's fine. And I did take notes. I have ADHD, so I forget things all the time. So I took notes, so I might come back to them sometimes when I forget my words. Come on in. Welcome. Okay. They came in and did like a last minute like technology thing, which was unhelpful. So who am I? My name is Meghan Ashburn, and I do a lot of different things. First and foremost, I am unconditionally inclusive. I was raised that way. I went to what you would call like a reverse inclusive preschool back in the early 80s at my mom's place down the street, about an hour down the street in Franklin at the Children's Center. And I know that inclusive classrooms work. I know that inclusive communities work, and it benefits everyone involved, not just disabled students, but also typically developing students as well. Also, I am a member of our Virginia Beach Schools Special Education Advisory Committee, which is the SEAC, and I advise the school board on things dealing with special education. I do teacher ed services. I used to be a teacher myself. I taught down the street in Southampton County for about 6 years, and we taught in an inclusive environment there. And now I do a lot of teacher trainings. I'm an educational consultant. I work with schools down in Georgia. I work with doctors out in England. I do lots of different things depending on what the need is and depending on what they want. And I have a book club. Anybody's welcome to join. It's on Facebook. It's called That Awesome Book Club. And it is a place where we discuss books. We don't necessarily read them in a timely fashion, but it's a no pressure book club. So come learn with us. And we center autistic voices in the book club, because the book club is about books about autism. And let's see, I think that's it. And I like Post-its. And in my spare time, I forgot about this one. I host my own unprofessional developments, and they're lots of fun. And I talk to teachers. I talk to autistic advocates. We interview non-speaking advocates about what their issues are and what they want to focus on. So it's a great place to learn. All right, let's see. but most importantly, I'm a mom. And these are my youngest. And I'm a mom with a unique vantage point because I have identical twins. And growing up, they went to the same special education preschool down here in Virginia Beach. They were in the same classroom through preschool. And they have the same diagnosis, but one speaks and one uses an AAC device to communicate. So what happened was in kindergarten, like so many other non-speaking kids in our school system, my non-speaker was segregated into a self-contained classroom. And while the one that spoke went to a general education classroom, fully included. And sometimes I feel like I am witnessing an unfortunate science experiment because I send two kids off on the same bus, the same grade, often dressed in the same outfits. And when they come home, everything is different. I can see the lack of access, right? I can see that one of my kids is coming home with library books. One of them is not. One of them is coming home with papers in their backpacks. One of them is not. When I go to volunteer at the schools, one of them has their artwork on the class art in the hallway. One of them does not. There's a blank where his artwork is supposed to be. And I can also see the lower expectations, right? I mean, one of them has IEP goals that are grade level specific. One of them has IEP goals that are strictly behavior, right? That are strictly unpreferred activities. That are strictly prompting. How many prompts are we going to give for this remedial activity? And the achievement gap. I mean, you can imagine when you don't have as much access, the achievement gap widens, and I've seen that happen. I've also seen him othered. I've seen that happening. I mean, when you have a kid that feels like a visitor in their own classroom, I mean, that is what's happening. And the unhappiness at school starts and the behaviors come out, but that behavior is communication. So I always say separate is never equal. All right, I'm gonna check on there we go. So we'll be talking a lot about teachers in this presentation, but I don't blame teachers. My kids have had great teachers, compassionate teachers, loving teachers, I will try anything kind of teachers, but the reason I highlight teachers is because teachers hold the key to inclusion in their schools, because placement is decided for each child around that IEP date. And no matter how inclusive a teacher wants to be, if they don't feel like they have the tools to include that student, it's going to be that much harder to get that inclusive setting. All right, lots of barriers to inclusion, non-speakers. Like I said, we're not doing hypotheticals, so we're not going to be talking about the high stakes testing, because that's a topic for another day. We're not going to be talking about teacher overwork, because that's not, you must be a teacher. We're not going anywhere. That's right, it's not going anywhere, it's only, whatever, it is what it is. And I put lack of experience up here, and I will address that it's not just lack of experience with teaching non-speaking students, it's lack of, it goes so much deeper. Like, they didn't go to school with non-speaking students, right? Their friends growing up were not non-speaking friends. So it's not just they don't know how to teach them, they just don't, it's just a total void of knowledge, right? So that's a big thing, but we can't change the past. So we're not going to talk about that. What we are going to talk about is the laws of motion. That something, I'm gonna mess it up. Something that's at rest, come on in, come on. Will stay at rest until another force moves it. And something that is moving in one direction will stay in that direction until a force comes and moves it. And today we're going to talk about one of those courses. We're also going to talk about the lack of training. And it's not that teachers don't have training, but the current training, especially when we're talking about autistic students, non-speaking students, is behaviorism, right? Like it's the focus of everything that I see. And I'm not like, this is not against BCBAs or anything like that. I mean, behaviorism is everywhere. It's in our school systems, it's just everywhere. And it's not informed by non-speaking people. Like it's informed by the people that created it. And those people weren't non-speakers, right? So a lot of times what's happening is they're being pathologized and judged from guesses that people are making about them. And oftentimes the guesses are, they're negative.
Yeah.
They're negative. They're always like the worst assumption ever. So we're calling our kids defiant and non-compliant and attention seeking. And it is, I mean, it's never like, oh, this person did something I didn't want them to do because they were trying to do a good job. It's never that, right? It's always something, welcome, that is negative and inaccurate. But current brain science gives us a different picture. And when we look beyond behaviors to the brain-body disconnect, we're talking about apraxia and dyspraxia. Welcome. Autism is an entire experience, right? And I don't want you to think that I am talking about autistic people. I am relaying what autistic people is saying to me, right? I listen to autistic people all the time. And this is what they're telling me, that the current brain science confirms this, that maybe they want to do something, but their bodies won't let them, right? Maybe they want to participate in something, but the sensory experience is too overwhelming. We're not going to be talking about the sensory issue today because Tanya only gave me an hour. I did ask for another hour, but she only gave me one. So we're going to talk a little bit just about the motor differences. And if you're looking for sensory integration, there's a sensory integration by Corey Yates. I think it's tomorrow at some point. I would really recommend. It's a great presentation. I've seen it already. And she talks a lot about the sensory integration, and it goes beyond like the 5 senses and talks about proprioception, vestibular, all of that. So I'm not going to talk about that today, but Corey Yates is amazing. So I would recommend that session. So when we talk about the brain-body disconnect, we talk about apraxia and dyspraxia. And often those two words are used interchangeably, and that's okay, because depending on the situation or the day, it could fluctuate. And apraxia is the total loss and execution of voluntary movement. So it can be oral, it could be smiling when you're not trying to smile. It could be ocular, which means I'm paying attention to you, I want to pay attention to you, but my eyes are looking over here. It could be verbal, which is referred to as apraxia of speech, which I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with. And it could be limb. So limb is like motor planning, tying shoes, doing this task over here that you were asked to do, but for some reason you can't do it. And it is not intentional. It is not defiant. It is not non-compliant. It is their experience. And most, I would say most, I say many up here, but I would say most non-speaking autistic people have total body apraxia, which it affects everything, all of their movements. They move differently. And sometimes there's a book called Ito in Autism Land. Has anybody read that? I know you have, Mom. That's my mom. I know Mom has. She reads all the books for book club for me so that I don't have to read them. And she gives me the highlights. It's true. So presuming competence is is something that's hard for teachers to kind of get their brains around. I know it was hard for me because the standard model of teaching is, instruction, practice, assess, and then from that assessment, you're either going to remediate or you're going to move on. But what happens when somebody can't perform the way they want to perform, when they know this is the right answer, but they don't have the tools? Come on in, welcome. They don't have the tools to answer it correctly. Welcome. And y'all pass those iPads around and play with the app. And that's where presuming competence comes in, because oftentimes when their eyes are looking a different way, we think they're not paying attention, but they are. So keep talking with them, keep teaching them. When they point to the wrong answer, presume that they can learn that, and not saying to presume that they know it already before you teach it. Use all the tools in your toolbox that you would usually use, but don't take away access to more learning. Because really, you don't know if that student gets it or not. You don't know. All you know is that they're pointing to the wrong answer, but now you know that apraxia is involved. And so maybe, just maybe, they do know the right answer. So you don't want to limit access. Come on, tell me.
And not just apraxia, but manipulation. I mean, my son has Down syndrome and autism, and I legitimately will watch him manipulate people that are working with him because he knows if he provides a wrong answer, instruction stops.
That is a learned behavior. I mean,
and it is.
It can
So
happen.
manipulation can also be an understanding, having an understanding of the child that you're working with, along with, my son's nonverbal, teaching AAC, he knows how to manipulate. And then finding that and being able to twist it and manipulate it. It's knowing the child and developing, taking the time. I would say, from your perspective, taking the child the time to understand, to develop a relationship with that child and know. My son would do work for her, whereas he wouldn't do work for me.
This is always true.
Yes.
But it also,
Go ahead, Barb.
thank you. I would also say that it certainly is manipulative, certainly, but it also might be the way he's
A coping strategy.
a coaching strategy, or just a way to interact with somebody at a different level. And so, yeah, I know one of the kids had a teacher who would say, well, he's manipulative. And I questioned that. I felt like what he was doing was he was trying to engage with her. He was doing things like, oh, he didn't say that, but he's like, I'm not going to get up and go to him every time. I think he's engaging. I mean, I think he's trying to engage with you. So I think some of it too is we as parents, certainly, and also teachers, we sort of like maybe put the negative side of things, which you also want to recognize. I mean, oh, so I know you know that, but you're trying to trick me into thinking you don't. So that some of it is just treating children
Kindly. Giving them the benefit of the doubt, yes. And treating them, and also recognizing that a lot of non-speakers have trauma, right? And there's a lot of trauma that is involved in not being able to be heard and being undervalued and all of the things that they have come to your classroom with. I mean, that's starting with that safety. And Mona De La Hook, I don't know if you've ever read Beyond Behaviors, but I would recommend it for everyone. It's Beyond Behaviors. Mm-hmm. And in the handouts that I gave y'all, it has QR codes. There is the Autism Resources for Educators has a little book list that's targeted for educators, and that's included in there. Oh yeah, sure. Oh, okay. All right.
I was just gonna say another consideration for the incorrect answers on a test is fatigue.
Mhm. For sure.
My daughter, who has autism and speech would decline with fatigue.
Mhm.
With testing, I know we're not talking about the high school testing, but they're taught to answer C if you don't know. And so we knew when fatigue hit, when you just got a
So
line of
many Cs. I'm
she would
tired,
go
yeah.
straight to Cs.
Yeah.
And breaks weren't being provided.
Yeah.
And so, and she would also have issues in some testing areas where we would have to come up with very unique assessments for her because, I'll give it, so she's 26 now, but like in her biology test, she would answer questions through class participation. So they knew she understood the content. But because of the way tests were structured, she could not demonstrate that knowledge in the context of a testing environment.
Alternative assessments are so crucial too. I mean, there's just thinking of my own kids and like patterning, right? Like my kids build these amazing things on Minecraft, and you know they can pattern. They know all about patterns because they're building stuff with patterns. But if you give him, this multiple choice test about patterns, you might say, oh, well, he doesn't know how to do patterns, right? So that's where like adaptations come in and alternative assessments. And also, hold on, this is actually one of your QR codes, don't worry. One of the resources on your papers, the top resource is an accessible academic course for educators, and it is learning strategies for adapting curriculum for non-speaking students. And it could be, people with lots of different communication needs. And it is fabulous, and it is really cheap comparatively to other teacher education programs. And it's the self-paced course, and I would totally recommend it. I'll keep that since you have another one. Okay, thank you, Dorothy. All right, so we're gonna get into remember how I said if something is at rest, it will stay at rest unless a force moves it. If something is moving in one direction, it will stay in that direction until a force moves it. And I feel like this next part, this is the force that we've been waiting for. And has anybody heard of AAC before? Alternative. Awesome. So AAC stands for Augmentative Alternative Communication. AAC can be anything from sign language to low-tech options like visual schedules, or it could be text boards, any kind of picture things, anything that's going to augment or give you an alternative way besides speaking. And so today we're going to be strictly talking about speech generating devices, which is a form of AAC, which is what I've been passing around. If you haven't gotten it, just like kind of raise your hand. And we're going to be talking about the latest breakthrough in AAC apps. So when we're talking about using AAC in the classroom, I want you to think about a general education classroom, a general education teacher who wants to include non-speaking kids in their class. Like, let's just say they're gung-ho, and they might have 5 or 6 non-speakers in their class, God willing. And one of the biggest problems with that setup is that there's a lot of different apps to learn, right? It's great for the people that are using them to have that variety, because you might have people that have multiple disabilities or multiple disabled, that they might have low vision, or they may need key guards. And there are lots of different apps to choose from. There are like bigger screens, smaller screens, things like that, which is great for the person using it, but not necessarily for like teachers who want to use it in the classroom, right? So you might have, this is Loco to go. Most schools are using this app. This is my kids' Loco to go. So you might have one kid that's using AAC app, and it looks like this when you get to them. And then another kid using Loco to go. Yes, Dorothy?
What if you run into a person, because I know an individual, he uses a tablet, and he's going to speak to her to use his communication time. And he'll use it for one person, one particular person, but he has trouble wanting to use it for other people. The other people don't really know how to use it. How do you go about working so that you get everyone? It's going to want to use that.
We're gonna address a little bit about that. I mean, that is so specific to the child. I don't, or to the user, so I don't want to like give any kind of instruction for that, but we are gonna address some of those barriers for that kid in just a second. So this is another home screen for Loco to go. So if you are in that classroom and you have that other screen, another kid has this home screen that's Loco to go, and then another kid is using Loco to go, and their home screen looks like this. Teachers are busy, right? Like teachers are super busy, especially gen ed teachers are over here, over there, over there, over there. They don't have the time or the resources to be learning everybody's AAC device. They would if they could, but they don't. They don't have the time. So they have to prioritize their time. And then maybe you have a screen that looks like this. I think this is a lamp, Words for Life, I'm not sure. Or then you have another kid that's using this because they're learning how to type and they have like a split screen. And here's another home screen. I don't know what this is either. But that variety is a barrier for inclusive classrooms. I mean, point blank. And then that means that who's modeling with the kid? Who's modeling in that classroom? Nobody. Maybe one person when they get a chance, maybe if that person has a one-on-one is modeling. None of the kids are modeling it. The teacher's not using it in their classroom, right? So that's a big deal. And Dorothy, to your point, that's a barrier, right? Nobody else is using it. So they're kind of singled out when they're using it. Access is another issue, right? Most of these apps, the robust apps, are like $300, $400, plus the cost of the iPad. And so
Why they make it have it like in, where there's elections, class elections, electives that students can take? Couldn't they have an ACC in an elective class that people who can speak take so that they can learn about these things in the school?
that's an idea. But what I'm going to tell you about is going to address that. What I'm going to tell you about is going to address this. So like access is a big problem because it leaves like the classroom teacher. Let's say you're a preschool teacher and you know that your kids in your classroom will benefit from AAC, right? Who do you go through? You got to go through the top people up here. That's right. You got to wait and you got to advocate for your kids and maybe they don't get them. Yes.
Or you could go to the, or you could like the thing where you get where you fundraise for a grant or something like that, wish list or something.
Yeah.
It's just usually special ed teacher wishes left because of COVID.
That is the way that teachers are doing it, thinking outside of the box. But they're not accessible. I mean, just for the regular person, the regular parent, the regular teacher. I mean, they have to go through so much bureaucracy and that they don't want to deal with. So yeah,
You just hit the nail on the head. It all came together. Anybody in here an educator? Educators in here?
oh, yeah,
In order to access something like this, you have to put in a referral for an AT eval.
that's right. That's right. And they have a certain number of days to do that. And yes, and some schools are not doing that. I mean, I'm talking with teachers around the country and some schools are saying, no, we're not doing that. We don't have the money, we don't have funds. Yes, that is against the law, but I mean, what are you gonna do if you're a teacher? You're gonna keep moving on. And then integration, I mean, that's just out the window, right? Like you got so much variety, nobody can get it. You can't integrate it into your classroom. So until now. And I'm going to preface this and say that this company that I'm going to talk about does not give me any money. They don't pay me. I'm not a rep for them. They don't give me any kind of discounts. I pay for my own apps. But like I said, I beta test apps. I beta tested this app that it just came out, that is circulating. And what if there was one system that everybody had, right? Maybe there are a couple that need different, like different apps because of low vision, or maybe they have like motor differences that are too much. But what if everybody had one system and everybody could get it? And everybody's modeling it and it's so much fun and everybody's a big AAC family. That's what we're gonna talk about. Loco is the new app that just came out. It is not to be confused with Loco to go. Loco to go is the one that we saw before. It's the one that everybody is familiar with. It's very highly customizable. Loco is not customizable like that. Loco was made for students who can use an iPad. If the student or kid can use an iPad, they can use this. If they cannot use an iPad for a particular reason, they might need another app, which is fine. It has an updated design. It looks more modern. It doesn't look like other apps are kind of clinical looking, right? Sometimes confusing looking. This is organized and made for students 0 to 18 in school. It has curriculum built into it, curriculum vocabulary built into it. Also, instead of a big payment up front, it's now a monthly fee. It's $10 a month and a month free trial. And if you have Loco to go, you get more months free just to try it out. And they're also coming out with classroom plans and school plans, but this app has unlimited sharing. What I'm passed around to you all is all from one monthly fee of $10. And I can add everyone in here if I want to add to my kids' AAC team. What does that mean? Free sharing, unlimited. And before you ask, yes, that person too. And before you ask the next person, yes, that person too. I went through this with the company when I first tested it. And they were like unlimited sharing. I was like, so you mean I can add my kid's principal? You mean I can add my kid's whole entire class? The answer is yes. All right, so it also comes with, hold on, it's okay. It also comes with Loco Coach, which is like a sister app, kind of. And it's included in the $10 a month. And it's a sister app and it's a training app that takes you from 0 to AAC. Like you don't know anything about it. What is AAC? It's gonna tell you what AAC is and what it's for. You don't know how to do this, it's gonna tell you how to do this. And it has micro bursts of learning. And so you have 2 minutes, you can do a little lesson. And it also comes with the most responsive customer service team that I've ever seen. Sorry, let's see. I'm just trying to multitask. So with Loco Coach, when you download that and you start learning about how to use it and how it's set up, how it's organized, Loco Coach makes you contact them. Like you can't move on until you say how you're feeling about something. I mean, it makes you contact them because they want you to know that they are there. And they will respond within 24 hours. Most of the time they respond like right away. So if you have a question about, hey, I can't find this button, what do I do? Bam, they're right there. It doesn't matter if it's 4 o'clock in the morning. They're not based in the US. So that's helpful.
So they're using this now?
My kid is using it now. It's brand new. It just came out a couple months ago. So that means so everybody's modeling it, right? That means I'm going to be adding all of my kids' classmates. That means that that preschool teacher can add all of their families.
Even girls.
All you need is an iPad, which I do understand is another access point that we're working on. That is not a small fee. Some iPads are like $300, right? Like that's a lot of money, but yes.
Without like a Chromebook touch.
Nope. only iPad.
You can get an iPad through assisted tech through Medicaid. You know,
Right.
If you have
You
waiver,
have to wear.
but these are for inclusive classrooms.
This is, if you have, no, I mean, you can get that through EPSCT, Medicaid. But you don't have to have the waiver, yes?
They're talking, but I think they're also talking with other kids in the classroom.
Yeah.
If they have an iPad, they can also have an iPad.
Right,
But
and I'm gonna
that's-
kind of go over that in just a second, but like, let's just say everybody in the class has this. And there's multiple tablets in the room. That means that everybody can model AAC. Everybody can use AAC, and it's one app that you have to learn and not a lot of them. Did you have a question?
Yes, I was wondering if for your child's class, do you also use a laptop too?
You have to use an iPad. It's only for iOS systems, and like for Loco to Go, you can put it on like a smartphone. Daniel, like you were thinking about, but this one is only for iPad.
Also, if a child can't, they have a choice, but they can't have access to an iPad, and that's still a disadvantage for their child.
That's right. Yes.
What age does this need to begin?
Okay, so I say that it's never too early to AAC.
About old,
Hmm?
about how old?
So this one is particularly made for 0 to 18 because once you get a little bit older, your communication needs are different. And hopefully you'll be like maybe having, typing or spelling, or you'll have, Daniel, you had those apps like on your
Yes.
iPad that are like lots of different things.
You should buy for when you read the menu and stuff.
Yeah, like when you get older, like that's gonna change. And so hopefully this will not be the only app that you're using. I usually do this kind of presentation with an AAC user because we do them every month, online on Zoom, small groups. But like I learned from her that like, this is perfect for school age kids, but when they get a little bit older, they should have more access to more apps or the alphabet or something like that. So big picture this, all right? So you're a teacher and you're like, you bought into this, right? Or you're like a parent and you're like, well, I don't know if I can make this change, right? Because this is the push that I believe will push inclusion in the right direction. What we're doing, this is my son, he was fully included the last semester of the last year. We just got the inclusion. And this will be the first year that he'll start in an inclusion classroom. No segregation, okay? So what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna ask the teacher, once we find out who it is. Hurry up. I'm gonna ask the teacher, would she send out an email for me to the other parents? Okay? I don't have to have their address or anything. Would you send this email out? And it's basically me telling the other parents in the classroom, like, hey, this is Jay. He is autistic. This is what this means. If you want to read more about it, he has an AAC device, and we would love to have your kid and name of the kid added to his vocabulary, right? We want the whole class on his vocabulary before the school starts. Also, if your kid is interested in learning more about how Jay communicates, send me your email address. I'll add you to his team, and you can have it on your iPad at home for free. And so before the school year even begins, now he's in 3rd grade, so it's going to be a little less participation than it would be in kindergarten. In kindergarten, if this had happened, those parents are on it. Like they're ready, like, ooh, let's do this, all involved. And maybe like 90% of kindergarten parents would be like on top of it, right? Maybe 50% of this class might, right? But they're gonna send me a selfie. They're gonna send me the name. All of the kids are gonna be able to benefit from this because they're all gonna learn the names of their classmates before the school year begins because they're gonna be up there. And then when they get into the school is gonna have additional iPads around around because they have this app and it's accessible to them. So maybe every, you know how they have like the new setup is like the groups, maybe every small group has an iPad. Maybe the iPads are at the center for center work. But every kid in there is gonna see, even if they don't send me a selfie, they're gonna see their friends up there. Their friends are part of the vocabulary. So that's peer pressure. So they're gonna be like, Mom, you're supposed to send a selfie. So it's involving everybody just with one email, one kid at one school. And that's gonna blossom, right? Because it is one app. Oh, and this was like for the kids, for the to print out. And it's just more of a kiddie kind of thing. Like, you know, this is his talker. They call it the talker at school. It talks about Jay, a little bit about him, to see that, yeah, Jay is different because he doesn't talk and he uses his talker, but he's also the same because he loves whatever, you know, gaming and stuff like that. So that's just one kid in one classroom. And if you, hold on, see now my slides are a little kind of messed up. Sorry about that, y'all. I think I lost a slide in all of this. So if you're a kindergarten teacher and you want, if you want all of your kids to have access to it, you can send it for free. You can have unlimited sharing. And that's gonna take hold. Like the principal that's coming into the classroom will have AAC. And even if some of the kids are using a different app, they'll still benefit, right? That's just the input of the app. They'll still have that. And other people using this app is not gonna make it any worse for them. It's gonna make it better for them because everybody's using AAC and the output is the same. Okay, anybody have any questions so far? Is anybody passing the app around?
But I did have a question. I thought you said it wasn't.
Are you going to share that letter,
What letter?
the one that you?
Oh, sure, yeah, sure.
Because I think there's a lot of things that are beautiful about it, but I love too that you're giving grown-ups and other homes.
Hold on, let me
like,
see if I can go
words to
back.
talk about things, because I think sometimes when families don't know how to talk about something that's different, they don't, right? And they don't know how to do it. So I feel like you're giving them tools to navigate and then also the opportunity to be consistent with how it's being talked about in the classroom.
Yeah, I actually have a template
Yeah.
that doesn't have anybody's name up there. And it does have links in there. There's a great comic strip made by an autistic artist about autism, and like instead of it being linear from, you know, whatever to whatever, it's more like a circle and it has different things in it. It's a really good comic strip. And then this link is a resource to like more about Apraxia and presuming competence, and it's also downloadable PDF as well that parents can have. So I mean, when you're talking about like the principal having it, everybody will have this AAC, and nobody will not benefit from it. That's a double negative. Everybody will benefit from having this AAC when you're talking about just word exposure, literacy, right? If you can look at, hold on, I'm gonna show it to you. I mean, if you take a look at the app itself, look at how it's structured. It's not blobby and everything is everywhere. It's very organized. Does anybody see any patterns of how it is structured? What pattern do you see?
Well, you just pick out the IU and then you move on to the next thing, not or more or good, and then you direct to the.
Structure just like a sentence, right? Just like how we talk, Daniel.
Colors.
Yep, it's got different colors for the different types of words. So you've got pronouns, linking verbs, these are your prepositions, right? And the integration, that's the slide I was missing, y'all. Found it, okay. That's the slide that went away.
Megan,
Yes, Dorothy.
I like, it also has a picture and a word for those who can't read. They have the picture, but then the word is there with the picture to help people learn.
It's great for literacy. It really is. It's great for literacy. So when you have one system that everybody can use, like that's a barrier that's solved. When you have everybody using it. And to your point that you were asking about, Dorothy, you know, the kid is only using their AAC with one person. They don't want to use it when they go here. But if everyone is using AAC, they're not singled out anymore, right? They're not the only one that's using it. It's just integrated into life. And so to me, I feel like it should be part of like the whole language approach to learning. You know, sign language, you've got pictures and picture cards and words and AAC, because it's saying the word for you, it's showing you the spelling of the word, and it's showing you a picture. Access, while there's still the barrier of the iPad, right? I mean, that's still a barrier, but this app has like drastically taken the bar down of access, right? I mean, it's way more accessible than it was. And then when we're talking about integration into the classroom, the sky is the limit for that. This vocabulary has 4 times the words of the Loco to go. It has all of the curriculum words in there. If you're talking about the rock cycle, this one is literacy. It's got the parts of the story. Everything that you're learning in school is in there. And I checked. I had to double check that. So you've got, you know, parts of speech, literacy, the writing process, you've got the punctuation, the grammar. If you're talking about, you know, editing, parts of a story, the setting, theme, all of that is in there. All the science is in there. I'm a science buff. Science, the water cycle, all of the cycles, all of the systems, all of the vocabulary that you need in science from kindergarten all the way up. I mean, it's got atoms and things that I don't, processes that I don't even know about for, like, you know, physical properties of matter, of like compounds and things like that. And then math, like centers. It's got math that I have no idea what that even means. Like, I don't even know how to do that. It's got those words and that vocabulary built in. So you can really integrate this into everything that you're doing. Calendar time. Yes, it's completely integrated. You can do that. Are there any questions about this? I know that's a lot of information. Yeah. Yeah, so when you download this app, Loco, the app that's on the iPads right now, it comes with another app to download for free. Because what you'll do is you'll get the app, you'll make an Assistaware account, and it will know that you already have Loco. So you'll get the Loco coach for free. And yes, it does teach you how to do it. And if you have a question, they're going to make sure you ask it. So you can always, you don't have to worry about, like, am I bothering somebody, or is somebody going to get back to me in 4 days? It doesn't, you know, because that doesn't work. Like, that's not effective. This company is really invested in non-speaking people having access to better communication. They're just really invested in it, and it shows. Are there, yeah, Dorothy.
I have a question. Because, Samsung devices are similar to Apple devices. And so why is it, this can be presented, this app can get presented to other companies, so that other operation systems can operate, you know, some sort, so if we can't get access to an iPad, we need to still be.
Well, there are companies that work on Android and Samsung devices like that, but and they'll see that this is happening, right? I mean, they'll see what Assistaware created, and I'm sure that every day it's getting more accessible and better. It's getting better, and but for this company, they won't put it on the Samsung. They're not going to put it on another type of operating system because it's just not cost effective.
I was just wondering if some particular way, you know, people advocate to be able to get the word out, and maybe someday the system still, no matter what device you use, you can get one system for all and work on every device.
That's a good question. Pam, do you have the answer for that?
I'm sorry, Megan, it's difficult to hear Dorothy's question. Can you repeat it for me?
So Dorothy was asking, will there ever be a time when like the AAC apps will be built for both operating systems, no matter what system you're using?
Kind of like an open source code.
Kind of, yeah.
I don't think that there's anything in an immediate timeline. I think that I never say never.
Right.
But, I don't think that it's realistic to think that that's something we should plan to have happen.
And this is Pam. She's actually from a system where she actually comes to all of my things that I do just because she's supporting the work that I do. I am so supportive of Loco, but it's because it's amazing. I don't support things that are not amazing. You can probably just tell that like if it's trash, it's trash. But like this is like I'll say it. But like this app is so fantastic and it breaks so many barriers for AAC users. And also, I'm gonna grab one of these. It also has the keyboard. I don't know if anybody was playing with it enough to see that it does have the keyboard that's built in, just like any other robust system. So the keyboard is even spectacular on its own. Like if you forget a letter, or a student forgets a letter, they don't have to backspace all of it. They can either go to they can go to the previous letter, or they can go to the previous word, or they can go all the way to the beginning to add in what they want to add in. So they don't have to like just repeat themselves, repeat the motions all again if they miss something. Okay, I'm around, and if no, that's fine. Okay, I appreciate it. My email address is on the handout, and you can always email me. I also do sessions that go into way more detail about the app and how it's used, how it's organized, the different features that this app has, comparing it to Loco to Go and how they're different. And so if you want to join us on one of those small groups, we have one every month online. And you can either email me or go to my website, it's up there. To sign up for one. And I'm always around to assist anybody that wants to learn more about it.